Okay. Happy Sunday, everyone.
Happy Sunday.
Uh, the message at the end of the video said, first build peace within yourself, and then within your family, and then within your community. And what a great message that is. I am so honored to introduce our speaker, and we're so blessed to have a speaker with us in person today, Anne McCrady. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Anne. Anne McCrady is a writer, a poet, speaker, a peace advocate, and an amateur naturalist. Educated in science and a lifelong writer, Anne's published poetry includes her collections Along Great House Road, Letting Myself In, and Under a Blameless Moon, and appear internationally in a variety of literary journals and anthologies, as well as online. She has self-published the original spiritual parable, Kevin and the Seven Prayers, and also has editorial, fiction, creative nonfiction, and libretto publication credits, and has for many years served as a poetry contest judge, a workshop presenter, and motivational speaker. She is currently the host of the Tyler Museum of Art Book Club and an online content creator at Poet with the Press Pass, poem.poet.prompt, and SoundCloud, while working on continuing writing and community projects. The mother of 3 adult children and Annie to her 8 grandchildren, Anne lives in Tyler, Texas with her husband, Dr. Mike McCrady, a retired family medicine hospitalist. Their daughter, Dr. Kate Hawkins, is a Tyler pediatrician. Sons Andy in Nacogdoches and Patrick in Blue Ridge, Virginia, have degrees in forest wildlife and mining engineering. Anne enjoys thoughtful explorations, and welcomes opportunities to engage in interesting conversations with adults and children in person and online. Let's please give a warm welcome to Anne McCrady.
Well, I had to kind of get myself together because that last song has, and for many of us here, has been sort of an anthem for all of us. And as with so many songs, when we hear them, all of that comes rushing forth. And so I appreciate so much that framing for our time this morning. And I just want to tell you here, so already in the service, I can already feel the love that you have for one another. And I have to tell you, it is both precious and rare. And so I hope you will all know how special it is. Well, the unity word for the day is universal love, or world peace, one God, one people, one peace. So I think we'll center our meditation on that collective love today and let it deepen God's presence with us and welcome this time together. I'll guide us through a practice of kind of letting go and turning inward as we open the door of our hearts to add God's love to our own. And then I'll offer a selection from an international collection of peace poems as Dan and Pat and Dustin, I'm trying to think, Mitzi's not here, BJ's probably not here yet. We all were part of a 10-year project that I co-founded with Neil Katz and Mary Andrews over from UU called Art of Peace. Maybe in the fall I'll come and tell you that story because it is its own peace story. But during that time I published each year an international collection of poems from, I don't know what it is, 6 continents, 14 countries. It was amazing that just what you all believe, that if you are peace, peace will come. And the next thing I knew, our project and one of the students in one of these booklets was on the front page of the National Bhutan newspaper. So if you think, lest you think your circles don't widen out, they certainly do. Well, and then I'll signal, give us a time of silence, and then I'll signal the closing with peace be with you, and we can return to our time together. So the poem that I want to read to you is called Abiding. And if there is anything that is it more envisions personal peace, it is us abiding with God, abiding with the Christ life, abiding. Talk to me. Speak peace into the wind and the waves of my life. Signal to them, be still. Sit with me. Let's rest in a shaded space where we can sit in long, comfortable silence. Open my eyes. Let the blind spots of my heart be cured and sight restored to see the beauty, divinity, and dignity of all things. Remind me unceasingly who I am, why I am here, and how much I am loved. It was written by a Houston poet, Mark Jones. Great guy. And now let us begin our time of meditation. First, let's spend some time letting go. The world clings to us. We have social concerns, household concerns. We have emotional issues and circumstances in our lives. We are at the end of a week of being in the world and seek the spiritual world instead. Let us let go of our physical selves. To go away from the world for just a little while that we can serve it later. Let go of what you hear. Let go of what you smell. Let go of anything scratchy about your clothing or anything scratchy about your life. Breathe in slowly and out fully. In slowly, out fully. That exchange of oxygen is also a metaphor for taking in God and letting out self. Now turn inward. Let's sit a while with our soul solitude and just be in that state of solitude and stillness. Let us open ourselves to God's presence and the Christ life. Be in that time of darkness and light and be neither afraid of either. Remember the poem, why you are here, what you are for, and how loved you are. And in those thoughts, let's spend about 3 minutes just being. Peace be with you. Now, let's just stretch our bodies and our thoughts a little bit to take in. And God goes with us even when we are not stopped in stillness and solitude. What a prayer for invitation to abundance it is to come away from spending time that way. Well, it is a joy to be here with you this morning and focus on peace. Peace action has actually been the intention of my life, so I am happy to consider it. It's especially true for me every day, but on Sunday it seems to be more important. And I have to admit, today it was really important for me to be here. The past 2 weeks for me since I was here have been a swirl of chaos. Oh no, abundance. Well, Mike and I went hiking in Pennsylvania, and he retired, I turned 70, and so we sort of did a transition honeymoon. But minutes upon arriving home, life let loose a waterfall of end of the school year celebrations, ceremonies with our grandchildren, welcome time for projects, not so welcome time with repairmen, interrupted by extended family illness, visits with friends. And in the last few hours before I came, one of my children texted to say she had gotten off the plane with her children and on their vacation, and my son is in Greece visiting his in-law extended family, and he texted at 4 a.m. and I left the house with a crew of men chainsawing in my front yard, and the neighbor burning leaves filling my backyard with smoke. And I thought, if I can just get to Unity, I'll be all right. Well, as my own preparation for today, I have spent the week delightfully listening and reading and joining in the voices of beloved peace people and spiritual masters. Their insights on peacemaking always reminds me of my precious moments of being in that work, but also what could still happen and having that hope. And so I brought some thoughts about some of my favorite guidance counselors, and you will recognize them. Jesus said, "My peace I give you, my peace I leave with you." What if we ended every conversation that way? Mahatma Gandhi, whose ideas about peace and nonviolence have inspired millions of people, said, "There is no way to peace. Peace is just the way." The Dalai Lama, whose wisdom goes beyond Tibet, says to bless the whole world, and he has. Desmond Tutu, who stood like a rock against apartheid and then showed us he could be full of love and laughter. Thich Nhat Hanh, who expanded our ideas of peace as he wrote, "Living Buddha, living Christ," letting us see that it's not just our perspective. Deepak Chopra took Gandhi's words and wrote a book called Peace is the Way and expanded that idea into action. Martin Luther King used eloquent speeches full of spirit to stir people to nonviolent action in the South and across the country, something that I'm very attached to. Liza Ely, who was a friend here in Tyler, she has moved away, but I still stay in touch with her. But her best peace gift to me was, whatever the situation, do the most loving thing. It sounds simple, but I cannot tell you how many times when I am so conflicted or I just am having trouble being peace, that I think, if you can't do anything else, at least do the most loving thing. It makes choices a lot easier. Greta Thunberg, whose courage to stand up to the world of commerce, whose wisdom about the world, whose ability to show us the future, and her love for the earth has touched millions and millions of people. And Malala, who as a child was certain of the rights of girls, and violence against her changed her into a nation and world leader. Peace does begin with us, but it ripples out. And there is a desperate need for peace in the world, no question about it. Just as we each need that peace of God, the world as a whole needs it. The political landscape is crazy. There's societal conflict at every turn. There are dire needs for security, for children, for the environment, for those in poverty or refugees. In our lives, there are social challenges that blossom and grow and bloom into terrible world challenges. The way of peace becomes something we have to start again over and over each morning. But as we know, it all begins with spiritual peace. Inner, outer, city, church, it has to be the intention of our lives. Something we wake to, meet with God, and continue each day. I call it living our inspired and inspiring lives. We are always influencing people, every moment. All of you, I wish you could see each other's faces. All of you, inspired by God, inspired with the Christ light, living inspiring lives that people watch. People go home and tell about being with you. What a blessing it was. If that's not peacemaking, I don't know what is. There are all kinds of beliefs in the world, but we know we have unity. There is one God, one people, one world. Unity is not just something that's on the name of a building. It is a reality that we are witness to and a part of in the world. And yet, all that and the world still needs the guidance and inspiration and actions that bring peace. Think of all the pastors and writers and poets, musicians, negotiators, political leaders, food kitchens, homeless shelters, mothers and children, and still the world resists peace. We must not flag in our efforts. We must not doubt in our belief. The world needs us too much. Well, I believe in the power of story. It wasn't in my bio, but for many, many years, I was a professional storyteller, went into schools and churches and community groups, and told sometimes other people's stories or Bible stories or folk stories, but also my own original stories. And, happily for me, Jesus loves stories too. And the authors of the Gospels, even the Gnostic, even Thomas, knew that it was going to be Jesus' stories that moved forward, that stayed with people. Humans we like meaning, and we can dictate truths. But what stays in our hearts are stories. And so this morning, as a peace story, I came to my heart the story of Jesus in the Sea of Galilee. Do you remember that from Mark chapter 4? So after a long day of sharing parables and preaching to the crowds, you can imagine standing in the sun, standing up on a rock, crowd around them. Jesus tells his disciples he's exhausted and that he needs to go to the other side of the lake. That is, he's going to leave the crowd and he's going to go to the other side of the lake for some respite. So they leave the crowds behind, which I'm sure was, everybody's clamoring for him. And they get in a boat and they set out. Well, the Sea of Galilee is known for where storms just crop up coming off the desert. And sure enough, two things happen. Jesus falls asleep. He's so tired. And the wind picks up. And then the waves pick up. And pretty soon it's a full storm. And we've had those lately where suddenly it crashes and we have lightning and thunder. And anyway, the disciples are panicked. The boat, is riding the waves. Jesus is sleeping away. And finally, they wake him up and they say, Master, we're all going to drown. What were you thinking? Wake up. We got to do something. And Jesus gets up and stands and says, Peace, still. Be still, quiet. The wind dies down, the waves settle, and Jesus goes back to sleep. They wake him again and he says, Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? Sometimes in our peacemaking we feel that way. We say, be still, peace, just have peace. And the world says, do you think we want to drown? Do something. Make a choice, make a decision, take an action, do something. And God says, come on, be still. Be calm. Well, that story is one of my favorites. How, like the disciples, we sometimes are fearful, and even though we have Jesus with us, we're just fretful and worried. What situations in your life does that seem like? A raging storm. My morning was sort of like that. How is the world an interruption to your peace? A child whose emotions are the storm. When do you feel troubled? And yet Jesus is with us. When do you just need a hug? When do you need a phone call or a text? I'm going to whisper this. She's here. But we need to step outside ourselves. Who else do you know that needs that? Who else needs a hug in this room? Our peace extends to everyone here. We can be the Christ light. We can be the reminder of God's presence. Is there a caregiver sacrificing their own needs? Is there a grief-stricken church member? A child whose emotions are out of control? A weary peace person that just wants the world to see? There are undeniable reasons for despair, and how wonderful that we can respond because we know. Well, Gospel stories don't stop with the Gospels. I had a story this week, this crazy week, that is a real life story of Jesus calming storms. I was staying with my grandkids. There are 3 of them. Emma and her sister are 6 and 4, and Jackson is 2. He was the long-awaited boy for my husband to have a grandson, and he is as independent and smart as a whip. Well, we were out in the yard swinging, and the clouds got dark, and then the wind picked up, and the 2 sisters said, "Annie, we probably ought to go inside." And Jackson said, "No, no, no, we need to keep swinging." And so I said, "Okay, girls, it's gonna be all right. When it starts to lightning, we'll go in." So we keep swinging, and all of a sudden there's rumbling of thunder in the background. And Joanna, who's in charge always, said, "Annie, you know the rule. If there is thunder, we have to go inside." And I said, "Joanna, it's far away. When it gets closer, we'll go inside. It's okay." So sure enough, about that time, lightning is, there was a flash of lightning. We run in the house, the lights have gone out. The girls are nuts. They're screaming and running around the house, and then there's a clap of thunder, and the windows shake, and I'm trying to calm everybody down. And Jackson stands up and says, "Girls, it's okay. It's okay." And the girls turned and looked at him like, "What do you know?" And I said, "Girls, Jackson knows everything's gonna be okay." Of course, I was stifling laughter with tears in my eyes because he's just such a caretaker. Pulled him up on the couch with me, and Jackson turns to me and says, "Annie, it's gonna be okay." That is exactly what we need to do in the world. It's okay. God is here with us. Jesus has shown us what it looks like to live a life of peace. We can be still. Though the storms of life rage, we can be at peace. We can have inner peace. We can pour it into others. We can be peace in a group of people where things are chaotic or full of emotion. If people turn and look at us and we are at peace, that it ripples out to our families, to someone sick, to someone dying, to someone getting married, to someone who's afraid. We can interact at peace. And it's not just personal. This congregation, right here, not just on Sunday mornings, can be that light of peace. That I always almost want to call it a sump of peace, that we can take in the struggles of the world, the struggles of the people around us, and say, "It's okay. Be at peace. Be still." Because we know whatever happens, like Jackson said, it's going to be okay. Right now, we're all like peace bells. There's a beautiful peace bell at the United Nations that I have been acquainted with, whose song is love, is God, is unity. What if each one of us decided to be a peace bell, to ring, for our lives to ring as peace? You never know. Our efforts might become a bell choir of peace. We could set the whole world ringing. We have the power to impact world peace, the dream of unity, for all of us to be one. We'll need to be patient, and we'll need to realize it's a slow process. But within your family, if you can be peace, people in your family will know, I just want to be like that person. I just want to be with that person. they'll remind me to be still, to be with God, to not react, just to act in peace. Wherever you work, wherever you shop, wherever you spend your time with friends, I bet already your friends think of you as that. I want to close this morning. Children will be in just a minute. These booklets, as I said, from Art of Peace, one each year, usually about 40 or 50 poems that I selected. I published them, selected from around the world. And each one, I also had a poem in. So I thought I'd read this and then we'll close out. It's called Labyrinth. In the search for peace, we can begin outside ourselves in the world of no one knows, amid fears that no one cares. Travelers, we can seek the center of what is most true for us. Hope invites us, God invites us to begin a journey, to let our lives be like a labyrinth, spiraling in to the presence of God. Each breath, each step into the maze towards serenity allows our load to lighten, a grief released, a doubt allayed, an injury eased, a grudge undone. Pulled along the labyrinth path of mercy around and around the Son of God, we follow our hearts in consistent walk of discovery. There is more about peace to know. Once centered, we listen to our pulse, hear our insistent heartbeat, and we breathe to the rhythm of what is our body's soul song. This, we whisper to ourselves, this is what it's all about. Feeling whole again, we begin our path out. We allow our circle to widen. Leaving the solitude of stillness, our thoughts can spiral outward to see possibility, to see hope, outward into the world that waits for us to come and share the gift of our peace, their peace, God's peace. Amen. I want to thank you for allowing me this time. It is a special, special day, and I know you all feel like Judith has been such a source of peace for you all. What a wonderful thing to be able to say that. Gratitude is certainly the nicest form of abundance for us to recognize how blessed we are. And so I hope as you transition and as you get to embrace her, that you will also embrace each other, because she was able to be her peace self, because you all were your peace selves. And it's been a wonderful time for this congregation. Thank you again for letting me be here, and you know I love you all.